Welcome back here to Mighty Mac on YouTube. Once again, if you guys like the content that we provide, then be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So Adam Stern from the Sports Business Journal posted today that NHRA has hired sports marketing agency Octagon, who has previously worked with NASCAR and helped them with their latest TV deal that earned them $7.7 billion back in 2023 to help strategize its media and content potential as well as help figure out its next TV deal. Steven Rientes of NHRA VP Broadcasting said, "We just felt like we needed some outside consultant to really help with the strategy and developing those properties and the direction we can go, and obviously along with our media rights as we move forward." NHRA's current deal with Fox that started back in 2016 and was renewed in 2020 is set to expire following the 2026 season. This is the first time NHRA has used an outside marketing agency to help with its TV deal, as well as its potential growth outside of the US market. While Octagon's Executive Vice President of Media Rights Advisory Dan Cohen praised Fox for their current work as NHRA's TV partner, he didn't shy away from the goals they have when looking at NHRA's next TV deal. "We're not going to be piggish on the economic side. We look to the left and the right and we see the resurgence of motorsports. Exposure is really important to us. There are some properties that throw to the wind reach and they're all about revenue. This is definitely not one of them. And there are some properties that have foregone significant revenue for the reach. And I think what we're trying to do is find the right balance." Some within the NHRA circle has pointed to the CW as being a potential replacement for Fox if the contract isn't renewed. This is in part because Nexstar Media Group Executive Vice President and CFO Lee Anglia is a member of the NHRA Board of Directors. There are guidelines in place for how the Board of Directors discuss this to avoid a conflict of interest. Now, in terms of what I think about the CW going into this, I'm not against it, but there are some things that I look at in terms of why I think CW may not be the best choice, especially when you talk about exposure. If you look at what the CW has right now with the NASCAR Xfinity Series, all signs would be a green light. And I would agree with that. You look at what they're doing with the Xfinity Series and what they're going to be doing with the Cup Series in the summer months, it's great. We looked at the Daytona broadcast when they first kicked off the season, and the fans were on fire, and they have been ever since. Mostly claiming about the fact that the CW is probably the best broadcast partner that they have right now compared to what Fox is doing. They listen to the fans, they have a great graphics package, they actually have cars on the starting grid, they have great 3D models to showcase the cars, they take it seriously, the commentary trio is great, the pit reporters are great, the fans love it. In that case, yes, I would say go for it. However, the biggest problem that the CW has is the amount of broadcasting partners that they have to showcase their channel. Unless you have a cable provider, it's actually kind of hard to really watch it. Now, I've used Hulu in the past. I'm not sure if they still have the CW or not, but what I use right now, and what I know a lot of people use is YouTube TV. And when this was first announced, when they're doing the summer race of the Xfinity Series on their NBC deal, there were a lot of concerns from fans because of the fact YouTube TV doesn't carry the CW. Now they say yes, they do, but they only carry their channel library. So their TV shows that they showcase on their channel is kept in YouTube TV's library, but not the live channel. This has forced a lot of fans who want to watch the Xfinity series to end up pirating the streams from other websites. And for a series like that, it can work because of the fact they have such a young audience base. But for the NHRA, how many of them are going to know how to pirate a YouTube stream or anything like that to watch the NHRA? That is where my biggest concern is. And the one thing I would hope that Octagon and the NHRA talk about when approaching CW, if that is true, what are they going to do to try and continue the exposure for the NHRA to want to continue the growth of the sport? How are they going to be able to get it to more channels out there because of the fact that without Fox, they're not going to have a network TV. They're going to be stuck on cable TV like the Xfinity series is, which is going to greatly hinder the chances of a potential growth because of the fact they don't have one of the big network channels that everybody is guaranteed to have to be able to watch their sport. Now, if you want to look at other series they can go to, there are some pros and some cons as well. They could go back to ESPN, but when they left them at the end of 2015, the big sticking point as to why they did that was because of the fact that NHRA wanted to produce their own broadcast, which is what they're doing now with Fox. So if they go to the CW, I would assume it would be the same deal. They want to produce their own broadcast, which I doubt was going to be an issue with the CW. I would think they'd be okay with that because if you look at what NHRA does now on Fox, it's pretty good. Is there room for improvement? Of course, but over the course of the last few years, there have been major improvements. Another reason of the problem with going back to ESPN was in all honesty, horrendous start times they gave the NHRA. There were times where if they were going up against other sports or NASCAR or IndyCar, they would get shoved to as late as 11 p.m. or 9 p.m. on ESPN2, not even just ESPN. And I don't even think they really ever got ABC broadcast. The best they got was their premier cable channel, not the network ABC like IndyCar and NASCAR was given when they were a part of ESPN. So that is another point of contention. What I would say probably not to go to ESPN. Another one that's left, NBC. And again, I would think that is honestly a worse deal. Here's why. You look at the end of the IndyCar deal. They did not do pretty much of a good job with that. They didn't do much to help promote the sport. And you look at what they're doing now with the products that they do have in IMSA and Supercross slash motocross, it's not that much better. Sure, IMSA on the big races like Sebring and Daytona do get NBC time slots, but they only get it for at most 2 to 4 hours out of the 12 or 24-hour races that they do without their big endurance season. The rest of it is shoved to Peacock. All of Supercross and Motocross is on Peacock, and to make it even worse, it's not even shown on the front page. Unless you know where it's at, you have to go digging down to where they have the live sports section, and then even then, it's going to be blocked in through 3 or 4 other options because of the golf channels that they have going on at the same time. So unless NBC gives you a security that they're going to be giving you as much exposure on their big channels that they have, I would not go back to NBC. I would stay away from it because they're not showing me at all that they're going to give sports their value. And honestly, I'm hoping that a lot of the TV packages they have right now end up leaving and go finding somewhere else to have their broadcast on because I don't think they're doing what they need to do to help grow their sport. Now, what that leaves is a potential to renew with Fox, which honestly I would not be opposed to. You look at what Fox is doing right now, they give them 7 network Fox broadcasts, which NHRA strategically places. Mainly, they do this in summer months to try and build up hype heading into the countdown, but most importantly, for the U.S. Nationals, as well as some of the races heading into the countdown. They did it a couple years ago where they had a lead in with an NFL broadcast that gave them 1.8 million viewers, which was a huge number for the NHRA to have. Now, we didn't get to see that again, but if you look at what Fox has done in the past, even without the major marketing push that they give IndyCar, they still have a steady growth year over year over year. You look back at the Arizona Nationals this past weekend, they actually gained 88,000 viewers over a year between last year and this year, and actually had a growth in their 18 to 24 demographic as well. So they actually do showcase the sport in a well positioned spot, and they actually do very obviously care about the NHRA. The biggest problem I have with them is the same issue that ESPN started to have back at the end of their deal, especially when IndyCar was on there, when NASCAR was on there, when ALMS was on there, an oversaturation of motorsports and too many sports for one channel to have. And that is my biggest concern for what they're going to do. You're promising all the Indy Next races on FS1. You're promising all the IndyCar races on Fox with all their practice and qualifying sessions on FS1 as well. NASCAR has races on FS1 and Fox. And then in the summer months, they have to compete with baseball, college football, college basketball, and everything in between. You're going to have an oversaturation and you're going to run out of time slots, which you cave into an issue where you had conflicting sports this past weekend with NASCAR and IndyCar on at the same time, dividing their viewership. So that is the only concern I have with Fox. In terms of whether or not they care about the NHRA, it is very obvious as they do. They have showcased the sport in a well-positioned light. They give them what they need to grow the sport. Is it at the same level of IndyCar? No, but is at a position where we see steady growth year over year because back to that Arizona Nationals broadcast, that was the highest rated FS1 broadcast they had since 2022. So it shows that NHRA, while not at the same level as what we see in NASCAR or F1 or IMSA, it's still a steady growth of popularity in the US, and more fans are starting to come out to the racetracks or watch on TV and get themselves exposed to the world of drag racing, which is a good stepping stone to help build in a better contract deal. Now, do I think Octagon's going to do a great job? Yes, I think it is a great idea to bring an outside eyes in to see what potential your sport has, especially with the fact of what NHRA has done in the past with their media rights, what they've done with their media content people, as well as what they've done on their YouTube channels, especially with the Roku channel as well. They have done a lot to help grow the sport with the free channel. I have it on my TV as the basic channel that I start up with. So every time I turn the TV on, it goes straight to NHRA TV. And I have a lot of people that I know that also watch that channel when they're not watching something on YouTube TV as well. So it obviously works in a well positioned way, especially with the fact that they sometimes broadcast their qualifying sessions on that channel as well. Now, the last point I have to give is where do I think this should go? Unless CW does give them that broadcasting window in the same way that Fox did, and they do have a higher exposure on what to bring on their channels to allow more people to watch, I would say stick with Fox. I think it's a great deal they have right now. I know that some people are going to point towards maybe the IndyCar beef that's going on right now between the two sports. And it's not really much of a beef within the NHRA. I know they're going to look at the social media posts and say that was mostly them having fun with it, and they sure as hell did. But the only beef came so much with the drivers, but that's because not a lot of them had anything they could say until that first race in Gainesville. Now the steam's starting to blow off, and now everyone's okay with it to a certain extent. But in terms of whether or not those broadcast commercials had a sticking point within the NHRA, not really. A lot of them got over it pretty quickly, and anything they posted after the fact was in fun just to poke the stick at the fans and get them riled up, which worked really well. So, in terms of whether or not there's any sour feelings towards Fox, not that I can see, not that I'm aware of. They're happy with the deal they have right now. So, it's going to be very interesting to see where this is going to go, what the next TV deal is going to look like. It's going to be a very exciting time to see what the future of NHRA holds, especially with the growth in the sport right now. And now that you have outside eyes, they're going to be able to give you a broader view on the world of motorsports. It's going to be an exciting thing to watch. Thank you guys so much for watching. Follow me on all social media pages down below at Mighty Mac 03. And until this weekend's Pomona Winter Nationals, this has been Mighty Mac. We'll see you next time.